Hello everybody, Toreno here, and welcome to episode 2 of the Patch 1.49 Roundup series. Now, today we're going to be looking at more of the Devblog articles. Now, last time we got up to the Skyraider AD2 and Stir 42 was the latest article released. Since then we've got articles on the M375mm, Ki-21 Co, Normandy, Arado, T28s and T95s, L2s and Berlin. We'll start off with the M375mm and Ki-21 Co article. Now, as you can see here, they've actually called it the Diamond T Autocar. I've never heard of it being called that before, but obviously, I don't know if Gaijin have got better access to those sort of details or something. Now, the first thing we can see is that the Ki-21 and the M375mm are both going to be rank 1 in their respective countries and sectors. The Ki-21 is going to be a bomber, obviously, so in the aircraft sector, and the Diamond T in the American ground forces. Now, as you can see in the pictures, and as it says here, it's basically a half-tracked M3 transporter armed with a 75mm gun. Now, notice it's an 1897, so this is before tanks were invented, so it's probably not going to be the best anti-tank weapon in the world, but it has got a large caliber weapons, so, it's probably going to be decently good against most of the early tanks. As it says here, despite relatively senior age, it had good ballistics, a little weaker than the Sherman 75mm guns, and could quite confidently defeat medium tanks at the start of the war. In-game, it has a good dynamic, is powerful compared to similarly ranked vehicle weapons, but it has weak armor protection. Even machine gun fire is dangerous to it. Now here they talk about a little bit of the, designing the vehicle in game, and we find out some useful information. A portion of the ammunition was placed below the gun carriage, and the rest of it was placed on the floor of the fighting compartment. And it was equipped with a gun shield, so all the ammunition is going to be on the floor roughly. So hopefully a low risk of ammunition exploding, because if you shoot, you're probably going to be hitting this top bit around the gun shield. So probably going to miss the ammunition most of the time. So hopefully less of a chance of being ammo racked. We then move on to the Ki-21 Co. Has a maximum bomb load of 1,000 kilograms with different presets: 20 50-kilogram bombs. 4 of them on external pylons, 10 100-kilogram Type 94 Type 3 bombs. One of them would be on an external pylon. I assume the Type 94 Type 3 are going to be Army and Navy respectively, or, that sort of designation. I don't think it has any actual effect in the game at the moment, but Japan does sort of have duplicate bombs where one's meant to be more effective against ground targets and the other's meant to be more effective against naval targets. Also gets 4 250-kilogram Type 92 bombs, 2 500-kilogram Type 92 bombs as well. I don't know if it gets an 800-kilogram bomb. Most of the Japanese planes are meant to be able to take 1,000 kilograms, but only get the 800-kilogram because, I don't know, they can't fit anymore, I assume. Defensive armament is 2 7.7mm machine guns and an army twin-barreled 7.7 Type 89 special machine gun. Now, I think this is going to be one of the early model Ki-21s, because I believe it was the later models had 5 machine guns. I think it was only in the later models that they added the machine guns. So I'm assuming this is going to be a early variant of the Ki-21. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm guessing it will be. It actually answers it here. First production army bomber of the Ki-21 line. So that explains why it has less defensive armament than I expected. Despite a common problem for all bombers at the time, weak defensive armament, no protection for crew or fuel tanks, small bomb load, had a great range of flight and speed. Range obviously won't make much of a difference in game, but the speed may do, depending what aircraft its battle rating is similar to. And then we go on to the artist bit again, just talking about the design. Despite a relatively small size for a bomber, the polygon count is one of the highest in the game, almost 87,000. Due to attention paid in creating the smooth rounded shapes of the aircraft, has almost no sharp edges, all elements are bound, polished and blended. Necessary to greatly increase the density of the mesh to get smooth shading on the areas that were glazed. An interesting feature of the aircraft was its landing flaps control system. Consists of 11 pieces, each of which have their own animation. It does look a little, quite a bit different than the usual ones. There seems to be like a air brake type thing. I'm not a huge aviation expert, so maybe something else. completely. You can also notice the cockpit looks like it's open, so maybe it's going to be getting its own cockpit, and you'll be able to open it, which I don't know how useful that would be in an actual bomber aircraft, but there we go. I also believe that the twin machine gun mentioned up here, I think it may be the top one, I'm not entirely sure. I will have to try and look into that a bit more, but from the pictures I've looked at so far, I think that's the one. I'll link this article so you can take a closer look if you want yourselves. Now we're going to go back at this point and look at the other articles. Next one is location Normandy. Gives a bit of information about the Normandy landings. American, British, and Canadian troops attacked fortifications. We present it as an in-game location based on historical event. Location is widely varied, not just because the battles take place at sea, in the air, and on the ground. Unique in the geography of Normandy, or is the uniqueness of the geography of Normandy. On one side is a beach facing the channel with fortified positions, on the other is a rural countryside with farmers' cottages, hedgerows and villages and fields, and in between all this is a town ravaged by war. So lots of different types of areas have been combined, and all going to have their own character and gameplay, and presumably different tactics and strategies will have to be used. Allies attacking from the coast must overcome powerful fortifications on the beach. Now, I don't know if that means the fortifications will be like AI controlled or something, or if that's just, the German tanks taking up positions in the fortifications or something. I don't know, it just, the way it's worded makes it kind of sound like you will have to actually overcome them by destroying them. But, I could be wrong, they could just be playing it up a little bit in the article. Barrage balloons hinders aircraft attempts to support ground forces and landing troops. I don't know if that will have any effect in game. The only map that's ever had barrage balloons is Malta, and I don't think they had any actual effect. From what I understand, it's actually it's the wires holding the barrage balloons that are meant to have the effect. They're meant to like cut the wings and stuff. So I don't know if they're going to be modelled now. I don't think they're modelled at the moment, the wires properly. Like you could just sort of fly through them. Barrages hinder the advancement of ground forces. Walls of vegetation lend an element of surprise to the game. You can encounter an ambush anywhere. Trenches, ditches, fields, altitude variations. The entire topography of the zone is built in a way to provide freedom to manoeuvre even in open areas by using the lay of the land. Every last object has been based on real history, and you can see there some pictures. Destroyed houses, trees, bushes, etc., etc., were made using new technology which has not been used before in our game. Details more elaborate and more realistic than ever. Lots of memorable landmarks distributed through location, helping to determine location and route. Still in development, screenshots may differ from the final version. So there's a new map, and it does look quite good. We haven't really got a beachy map, or, the way you've got a beach and a town and the countryside. I think that could work quite well. I don't think there were that many tanks in the actual Normandy invasion. There was the floating DD tanks, but I seem to remember the American ones sunk a lot, and the British ones, I assume. Well, they did sort of have to attack the Germans, but it was mainly against the infantry and fortifications rather than tanks. So I don't know how that's going to work in game, if you come off landing craft or something, or just spawn on the beach. But either way, it looks like quite a fun little map. We'll go back again, and we'll look at the Arado 234C3. Now, the first thing you can notice, if this will load up, there we go, 4 engines. Now, if I remember correctly, these are BMW 03 or 003 engines. The ones the normal Arado has is the Jumo 004. Now, the Jumo 004 are marginally more powerful, something like 1,980 pound-feet compared to the BMW, which is 1,760 pound-feet. So these are going to be sort of less powerful, but because there's 4 of them, it should be more powerful, more faster than the regular Arado. And as it says here, it comes with offensive armament, so that's going to be a massive improvement as well. 2 Mauser MG 151/20, ammunition capacity of 250 rounds per barrel, bomber with 4 jet engines which has retained the bomb load of its predecessor. So presumably the same bomb load, which is something like 3 500kg bombs. I haven't unlocked the Arado, so I haven't looked at it that much. Main difference is the modified cockpit and installation of 2 additional engines. The rest of it's just sort of talking about cosmetic changes that are sort of introduced by the addition of the engines. Oh, actually, it says the nacelles have a complex interaction with the wing. We have spent a lot of time on the quality and implementation of this area. I don't know if that will affect anything. This paragraph's just talking about the cockpit, how they sort of designed it, based on archival photos from the factory cabin layouts and drawings and that sort of stuff. It was only a short article, really, just sort of announcing it. Like I said, there isn't that much difference. Just two extra engines, or four different engines, and some offensive armament. That'll be quite a good plane, although depending on the battle rating, because it's going to be rank 5. It says here 5th rank, so it'll be fun, but I do worry it's going to be a bit, seal clubbed or something. Although the ordinary Arado with no weaponry already does have a bit of a fan club around it, so who knows. Now next we've got the T-28 and T-95. Now this is a bit odd because the T-28 and T-95 are the same tank, they've just changed the designation. Well, it actually says here the T-95 and the premium T-28, so T-95 is going to be regular tree, T-28 is going to be premium. And you can see that the T-95 has 4 tracks, T-28 has 2. In real life, they could both take 2 or 4. So I don't know why they've done it like this. I assume for some variety, something like that. Now, it doesn't say what tier they're going to be at, which is confusing because I don't think we have any tier 5 premium. So I don't know if the T-28's going to be tier 4. But then it seems a bit overpowered for that, and so does the T-95. We'll have to see how it turns out, I suppose. Maybe the dev server answered some of those questions, but I haven't really had a chance to look at any videos from the dev server. Armed with a 105mm T51, T5E1 cannon with 63 shells available. I did try to look up information on the penetration characteristics of that gun. I couldn't really find any, unfortunately. Now here they just talk a bit about the tank. Super heavy tank T28 slash gun motor carriage T95. Machine changed its name several times during the project development. Like I said, basically the same tank. Conceived as a tool to defeat fortified emplacements, classified as a super heavy tank, powerful 105mm gun, armour thickness up to 300mm at the front, allowing the vehicle to reach fortifications under fire and destroy them. But due to low power to weight ratio, 500 horsepower for 100 tons, extremely low mobility, which wasn't critical for its immediate task. In-game, capable of destroying almost any tank and stand constant fire from the front, but, require patience in achieving an intended position. Here they talk about the design again. Heaviest tank in the game regarding polygon count, that's the T95, so 4 tracks, 160,000 polygons, caused by a huge number of small parts. Difficult to create in right proportions and on correct locations of the hull, as there were not many existing references or information. I believe there's one surviving tank. One burnt out due to a fire, unless I'm mistaken, because they made 2, and the other one was just left to rot in a field until 1974, when somebody found it and put it up as a museum display piece, or it's awaiting to become a museum display piece. I can't quite remember. Interesting detail on the right side of the hull. There are 2 A-frame hoist assemblies to facilitate removal and replacing of outer pair of tracks. So they do say, they do know that it could have 2 or 4 tracks. So I'm assuming it's just a variation thing that we've got both for the T28 and the T95. Looking forward to it. It'll be, quite unusual for the Americans. Because usually when people think of super heavy tanks, they think of the German Maus and stuff. People don't think that the Americans invented these sort of tanks, so it'll be interesting. Although I've heard the side armour is quite bad, something like 60mm, so, it'll be quite vulnerable if you're not facing the enemy, and they'll be able to flank you quite easily. Now, if we go back, we've got the R2 series, and I think there's quite a lot of them. I did have some confusion about this when I looked last time. First of all, 1942 R2. We'll replace the current R2 at the 2nd rank. I assume that means a bit like the A20, which I believe was replaced by an A20 G30 or something. I can't quite remember the name, but it was replaced essentially. It was basically the same plane. You didn't have much difference. They only changed the turret or something, but it's because when they was updating it or something. I can't quite remember exactly. But armament consists of fixed wing panels, two 23mm cannons with 150 rounds each, two 7.62mm machine guns with 750 rounds each. Inner pylons can have 4 bombs from 50 to 100 kilograms. Outer holders can attach bombs of the FAB 100 or FAB 250 type. I don't know if that means a 100 kilogram bomb or 250 kilogram bombs. We'll have to sort of see how it works out when it comes out in game. Under the wing panels, rails installed which can mount PO-82 rockets, 4 on each side. The model updates an existing single-seated variant of the R2 with 23mm cannons and receives the correct payload with its variety of bombs and rockets. I don't know if it actually gets more bombs, because you can get 4 bombs on the inner rails and then you can get some on the outer rails. I don't think you can do that at the moment, so I'm assuming it's actually getting more bombs, possibly. Here they just talk about the, designing it again. Something about fairings which cover the position of the wings and cover mechanical parts of the cannons and an anti-dust filter. I don't know if that'll do any actual change to the game itself. I doubt it will. Now, this is the one I was confused about last time, the 1943. It's an addition for the third rank. Offensive weaponry similar to the 1942 model, but it has a rear turret with 150 shots. Bomb load of 400 kilograms placed on the DER-21 inner pylons and a bomb bay along the centre line with and two MDZ-40 outer pylons. Only RS-82 type rockets can be mounted. So I think this actually, the 1942 model, I think it only takes different rockets maybe. I don't know if the 1943 gets improved rockets. Again, we'll have to see how it works out in game. 43 is the result of hard work and protection of R2s from the rear, bringing opportunities of attack of the attack aircraft to its single-seat counterpart. Has a boosted AM-38F engines installed, which allow to mostly bring back the bomb load single-seated R2. I don't know if the R2M has a reduced bomb load. I don't know why that sentence is worded. It makes it sound like it's going to get bomb loads that weren't accessible to it before or something. The aircraft has better angles of attack from gunners and fibre sealing fuel tanks, which unlike metal ones are more resistant to hits. Again, they're just talking about artists, designing the aircraft in this bit, about the installation of the gunner's cockpit, lots of complex structure and lots of smaller parts, had to model it accurately with every small element of this complex system. Now this is a new one, the R237, basically located on the third rank, no rocket load, bomb load was reduced to 200 kilograms, two 7.62mm machine guns, but it gets 37mm cannons with an ammunition of 50 rounds per barrel. I think the Ju-87 only gets up like 20 overall for both guns, and this has 50 per barrel, so 100 rounds. Oh god, this is going to be OP for ground attack. Just says here, armed with two 37mm cannons, most heavily armed in the R2 lineup. Heavier offensive weaponry has substantially limited the payload by up to 200 kilograms of bombs without the option to mount rails for rockets. So this can still take bombs. Oh god, this is going to be really OP. You can just shoot up your enemies and then as you're flying away drop bombs and... oh god. I can see a lot of complaints about that in the forums. Lastly, we've got the new location, Berlin. We looked at it before, but we only saw old pictures. We didn't have any pictures of it in-game. So we'll take a quick look through the article. Most of the paragraphs just seem to be talking about, setting the scene, atmosphere of war conveyed precisely from the very first moment. From the very first moment, you feel the heat and smoke of the fires, soot and smog. All around the burnt-out remains of tanks and aircraft, traces of bombing and artillery fire. When it says traces of bombing and artillery fire, I don't know if it means the after effects or the actual, if there is still bombing and artillery. I doubt it'd be like artillery and all that still hitting, because that annoy a lot of people, unless they mean in the distance. Peaceful riverbank bristles with teeth of ruined homes. Pavements hidden under layers of thick dust. Trams sit silently in their lines. Cannonade of artillery fire, crashes and booms, propellers cut through the air, tanks crash through the streets. I don't know if that means AI tanks in AI aircraft, or if that's like describing how we'll be doing the battle. First tank location to take place exclusively in a city. Centre of the battle will be in the open square outside the Reichstag. You'll still be able to find cover behind the city's warehouse from tank destroyers waiting in ambush. Remains of buildings and alleys, an experienced commander can find a route through to the enemy's flank or a way to distract their forces. Hard to hide from aircraft among the burnt trees and destroyed squares, so Allied fighters will have to protect their tanks from enemy assault aircraft and bombers. So yeah, it looks quite good. I don't know how it's going to be for my computer or laptop. Hopefully, it won't struggle too much playing it. But yeah, it looks quite good. Most of these articles do look very good. You know, can't wait for them all to be added into the game. Oh, clicked it again. Anyway, that's it for today's episode. Hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did. Subscribe if you like these sorts of videos. Leave feedback. Could always do with more feedback. I'll probably be bringing out these videos on a more regular basis because it seems like we're getting, Devblog articles thick and fast. So I suspect we'll be getting another one of these episodes very soon. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.